Hi, I'm Dr. John Schrage, one of your teachers at Early College, and I'm here to talk to you today about wearing masks. This is going to be a weird school year like no other, and there's so many new rules and procedures for everything. Keep in mind, all these new rules and procedures have been made to help keep you safe, your family safe, and your teachers safe. Now, part of that is about masks, and here at Early College, we have to follow the rules of both EVSC and Ivy Tech. So we thought it'd be easiest to just put together a little video that would summarize what you need to know about wearing masks at our school. In this video, we're going to talk about the kind of masks you're required to wear and the kind of face coverings that are not allowed. Additionally, I'll talk to you a little bit about the kind of things you can do to take care of your mask and to feel better while wearing it. Firstly, let's just be clear, you have to wear a face mask at all times at Early College. A mask, not necessarily a face shield. Shields are those plastic covers that protect your eyes and maybe provide additional protection from the virus. Some people might choose to wear a face shield, but you cannot wear a face shield instead of a mask. You can wear a face mask and a face shield at the same time if you choose. Okay, so let's go through the kinds of masks and face coverings that are acceptable. You might have heard of N95 or KN95 masks. I have an example of it right here. They'll always on the outside be labeled KN95 or N95. You might have heard that these are the safest kind of masks to wear, and it certainly is true. And you certainly can wear them if you have access to them. But honestly, you don't need to go with something quite as complicated as this. These aren't exactly cheap, and they're not entirely easy to find. If you have access to them, that's fine. But honestly, these are kind of masks that like nurses in an intensive care unit wear. They kind of overkill for what we're doing with back to school. Now, a much easier option for you is probably going to be to just wear a surgical mask like this. I know these don't really look like much, but they're actually really effective at preventing the spread of the virus. I mean, preventing the spread of diseases is what they're made for. They're made of a non-woven material that's really good at stopping the airborne droplets that spread the coronavirus. They're lightweight and comfortable, and compared to some of these other options, they're really cheap. The other day, I saw a box of 50 of them for $14 at Rural King, and I've seen them for similar prices at places like Walgreens and CVS. Now, if you have surgical masks like this, you might find that they're a little bit big for your face. That's not a difficult thing to adjust. You can probably find YouTube videos that are better for showing this here, but it's pretty simple to just tie off the end of the ear loop here and on both sides, and then kind of fold the pleats along the side here to make it fit a smaller face, because they are made for full-size adults, and maybe as a student, you just might not be that large. Now, regardless of whether you bought them at a store or if they're homemade, cloth face masks are actually really good at preventing the spread of coronavirus. You just need to make sure that the mask is made of an appropriate materials. A proper face mask needs to be made of at least 2 layers of fabric. You can usually tell if the mask is made of multiple layers of fabric by kind of putting your fingers on either side and rubbing it. You can feel how the top layer moves separate from the bottom layer. Often they are just different materials on the 2 sides. You can tell pretty easily if they're made of multiple layers of cloth. Here's a good way to tell if your cloth mask is appropriate for protecting you and others from the virus. So you just hold it up to a light or to a window and see if you can make out the outlines of the light fixture or the outlines of the window through the mask. If you can see that much light through the mask, it really isn't appropriate to wear that mask around other people at other times. In particular, you should be watching out for cloth face masks that are made out of a single layer of material similar to like what swimsuits are made of or dry fit shirts. Those kind of masks provide very little protection to you and the people around you. Also watch out for masks that are kind of stretchy, like maybe they're made of like a t-shirt type material. Again, those aren't really appropriate to wear around people all day long under the present conditions. A gaiter is another type of face cover you've probably seen. Gaiters have gotten a lot of bad press lately due to one study that suggested that gaiters provide no protection whatsoever. Honestly, that study only examined one example of a neck gaiter and only had one test subject, so it's not necessarily particularly strong evidence against gaiters at the present time. EVSC and Ivy Tech do allow gaiters. That being said, like any other face covering, you need to make sure that the material actually prevents the spread of the coronavirus. Again, just hold the gaiter up to the light and see if you can see through it. If you can see the outline of a window or the outline of a light fixture through the gaiter, it isn't really doing you or anybody else much steroid. A lot of the cloth masks that you can buy have this pouch on the inside that is where you can insert a disposable filter that's sold separately. Now, that adds a lot of protection if you do it, but those insertable filters are not cheap. However, there's an incredibly cheap alternative. If you have a mask with one of those pouches on the inside, consider just putting a regular Kleenex tissue in there. It sounds silly, but think about it. Stopping droplets is exactly what tissues are for. They're really good at catching the kind of droplets that spread the virus, like from sneezes and coughs. So if you have a cloth mask that accommodates a disposable filter, see if tissues fit in the spot, as they will be a big help. So if you have a cloth mask that accommodates a disposable filter, see if tissues will fit in that pouch, as they would be a big help. Just remember, you will have to change the tissues in there at least once a day. Now let's talk about some of the kinds of masks that aren't allowed. If you've been out and about lately, it's pretty likely you've seen examples of people wearing bandanas on their face. EVSC does not allow bandanas to be used as your face covering, as they provide very little protection from the virus. EVSC also prohibits the use of scarves and veils as your face covering. Scarves and veils can be worn over an appropriate face mask, but they can't be your primary way of preventing the spread of the virus. No matter what, the mask you wear has to work and fit properly. You've undoubtedly seen pictures online of people wearing masks that technically follow the letter of the law, but actually do nothing. For example, masks with big holes in them, or masks that were knitted or crocheted, masks made of lace, things like that. Obviously, we are not going to be tolerating anything like that. Now, there is one type of mask that's in kind of a gray area as to whether it's appropriate to wear at this time or not, and that's the ones with those plastic valves on the side. They look like a regular cloth mask, and then on either side, there's these plastic valves. Masks with valves were not designed for situations like this. They're about protecting the person wearing the mask from dust and contaminants in the air, but they don't do really anything to filter out the air that the wearer is breathing out. They're made to be worn by like woodworkers or people in coal mines who are worried about what they breathe in, but it doesn't really matter what they breathe out. In this way, these masks with valves are not really appropriate to wear in school. But wait, some of the masks with valves are now sold with replaceable filters that go inside the valves. I don't have an example of a mask like that, but there's a little filter that slips into that kind of circle valve that's in there. Those kind of filters have to be changed every few days, but a mask with valves and filters is actually just fine. So you kind of can see the problem. When you see someone wearing a mask with those air valves on the side, you actually have no idea whether or not that particular mask has filters installed on the valves. In other words, that particular mask might be doing a great job protecting us all, or it might be doing very little. So what do we do about masks with valves? EVSC has decided not to ban masks with valves, and Ivy Tech actually hasn't issued any rules one way or the other. At Early College, we'd like to recommend against wearing masks with valves, but we'll be glad to talk to you more about these masks if that's the kind you have. EVSC says you got to come to school each day in a clean mask. If it's a cloth mask, it'd be ideal if it had been washed and dried since the last time it was worn. And if the mask is visibly dirty, it needs to be washed if it's cloth, or thrown away if it's a disposable mask. What do I mean by visibly dirty? That could be things like makeup or sweat stains on the mask, or it could be just like, let's say, a bad sneeze or cough. Like, for example, if you sneeze into the mask, well, it's hard to get a tissue in there fast before you sneeze, and now you've got a big mess on the side of your mask, okay? Speaking of sneezes and coughs, though, this is a good time to remind you, please remember to bring a spare mask with you each day. My son Xavier learned this the hard way a couple of days ago. His hay fever acted up and he sneezed several times into the mask he was wearing. And yeah, let's just say it was a bad mess on the inside of the mask, and he wished he had a spare one with him. However, for just day-to-day use, washing a mask is actually not completely necessary. Whether we're talking about cloth masks or disposable surgical masks, as long as the mask isn't worn for about 3 or 4 days, any virus that's on the mask should no longer be infectious. So here's what is recommended. Get yourself some paper bags. The brown bags used like for sack lunches work great, and you can get a huge stack of them for $1 at a dollar store. At the end of the day, when you take off the mask, put it into one of the paper bags and write the date on the bag. Then 3 or 4 days later, you can wear that mask again without any fear of contaminating yourself or others. And why paper bags? It has to be a paper bag because paper bags are breathable, and what you want is to give the mask the opportunity to dry out. So if you have maybe 4 masks and 3 paper bags, just wear a mask, put it in the bag, wear a mask, put it in the bag, wear a mask, put it in the bag, wear a mask. Well, take the other mask out of the bag and put that one in there. You'd be set. Let's be honest, masks aren't fun, and a lot of people find it really uncomfortable. One thing you can do if you find that masks irritate you, especially behind the ears, is to get an ear saver. I forgot to bring any up here when I made the recording, but they're just sort of a little plastic strap that goes behind your head, and then you hook the ear loops of the mask to the ear saver rather than the backs of your ears. I've worn them quite a few times, and I think they help a lot. You should be able to find ear savers in any departments, Target or something like that nowadays. I think Ivy Tech actually has some that they are distributing as well. You can ask us if you need one, and we can see if we can round one up for you. If you can't find ear savers or can't get them in time, there are lots of online videos about how to make your own ear savers at home from things you find around the house, like hair scrunchies. If you wear glasses like I do, you might have trouble with the glasses fogging up from time to time. Now, that's most likely due to the mask not fitting quite right. Try wearing the mask a little higher and a little tighter. An ear saver actually can really help with that because it tends to kind of shift the mask up and tighter against your face. So if you have an ear saver, you shouldn't really have problems with glasses fogging up. But if that continues to be a problem, contact your eye doctor. They can look up what kind of what kind of lenses you have and what kind of coatings are on the glasses, and they can recommend something to put on the glasses that will keep them from fogging up. I don't want to recommend any specific home remedy for how to keep your glasses from fogging up, because some home remedies can remove the anti-glare coating off your glasses or something like that. Your eye doctor will know what you have and will recommend the right stuff. Finally, and I hope this goes without saying, but all masks have to be consistent with EVSC dress codes. The mask can't feature slogans or phrases or any kind of vulgar language or vulgar images, for example. We hope this isn't going to be a problem either here or at your home schools, to be honest. All right, I hope that this has helped. We're certainly eager to answer any questions you have about appropriate ways to wear masks and appropriate masks to wear when you're in school all day around other people and so on. In the meantime, we're all getting ready to have a great semester with you, and please let us know if you have any questions.